Think about it, Zix. The present antimatter propulsion system is fantastic for interstellar travel, but what about when he needs that extra boost to escape planetary gravity wells or evade hostile forces? Sarah Chen grinned, her eyes sparkling with the unique brand of insanity that seems to be unique to human engineers. The alien engineers' appendages trembled with barely contained horror as they beheld their human colleague, adding, "Rockets. Big ones." HFY's crystalline structure underwent a number of. As Sarah rested her boots on her desk, the holographic blueprints of Santa's sleigh swung slowly above them. The sophisticated alien technology was a reflection of the cooperation between Earth and the other spacefaring races, since Earth joined the Galactic Gift Exchange Code ISHN GGEC 50 years ago. Administrator Klaus, who hasn't encountered hostile forces in more than 3 centuries of gift distribution, was understandably worried. Sarah passionately reached for her coffee mug, which proudly displayed the slogan, "Humans Happen." She couldn't help but wonder about the other star systems that have yet to be contacted. Have they all been peaceful and joyful? What if some of them aren't so friendly? XYX started to calculate the odds of encountering a hostile civilization during gift distribution, but Sarah interrupted, causing her alien friend to look exasperated. "I'm not suggesting that we need. Santa's sleigh could be upgraded with some defensive capabilities, but the Council is unlikely to approve. The idea has been around for centuries, and the design hasn't changed much since the Great Reform of 2157. Sarah's smile grew wider. "So we won't tell them. Instead, they can enjoy it as a Christmas surprise." Just as Ike's was about to protest, the workshop's emergency alerts started blaring, and strange shadows began to cast across the advanced manufacturing facility. In the complex of unidentified vessels that were detected approaching Coalition space, with multiple contacts and non-standard configurations, no response to hailing attempts, Sarah's boots were already hitting the floor with a determined thud. In about 47 minutes, Administrator Klaus departs. XIX responding, their crystals pulsating that I'm going to be a naughty nice algorithm alert. Not enough. You must be successful. The Academy's cyber-selling training program alert. It's time to put human ingenuity to work, Sarah decided, after pulling up the sleigh's schematics on her portable terminal. You know what they say about asking forgiveness instead of permission. On Earth, Zix noted dryly, but on my world, we say that proper planning prevents poor performance. Well, today we're going with the Earth way. Sarah was already on her way to Sleigh Bay, her mind racing with calculations and modifications, and she was thinking about things like, what's the worst that could happen? Syac crystalline form. Elf of different species hurried about in organized chaos as they hurried through the workshop. Traditional Earth elves worked alongside their alien counterparts. Tall, willowy beings from. The jolly old man had adapted well to the technological evolution of his operation. He still insisted on wearing the traditional red suit, but now it has integrated life support and shield generators. Proxima Centaur, energy beings who specialized in quantum gift wrapping, and a few others arrived at Sleigh Bay just as Santa was reviewing the final preparation checklist. Sarah Cic, Santa's booming voice carried across the bay, "And I trust everything is in order with the sleigh? And I trust..." So Sarah started to speak about it, but she was cut off by another ear-piercing alert. The presence of several red connections illuminated the master display when they reached the outside boundaries of Coalition space. Their speed was unprecedented, and the energy fingerprints of the mysterious vessels could not be found in the Coalition's records. As Santa saw the tactical show, his somber one transformed into a somber one. "The kids rely on us to take care of them since they are a member of 17 different systems. I have a suggestion. It is uncommon, and it most certainly exceeds at least 15 rules that have been imposed by the Coalition," Sir Sarah remarked, stepping forward with a tablet in her hand. For the next half an hour, Sarah and Zix worked feverishly to implement changes that would have sent the Coalition Safety Board into a collective apoplexy, but they could have saved me from termination. Santa's eyes gleamed with a familiar mischief. "And I bet you didn't realize how many regulations I had broken when I first began delivering gifts, by flying SLE. They constructed a prototype protective shield matrix, inserted experimental rocket boosters, and adjusted the system to meet Sarah's demands. The quant, which X referred to as a few surprises, was never intended to be used in this manner, and Sarah adjusted its matter-energy conversion methods. This occurred because nobody had previously considered using Christmas presents as a defense mechanism. Sarah typed out a reply as her fingers fluttered over the holographic screen. "Believe me, this will work," she assured him. With time running out, the mysterious ships Drew was circling the Coalition's area of influence. Their goal became very clear when they started inserting tiny devices and interfering with communications. Santa snarled as he checked the enhanced sensor readings. "The pirates believe they can steal our presents and sell them on the black market." Sarah completed the last adjustment as the countdown reached 0. "Everything is ready, sir, though I should caution you that the sleigh's handling might be different." Despite his traditional girth, Santa's movement was swift, and the ancient magic that had once propelled his journey now collaborated with modern technology. The sleigh erupted from the North Pole facility in a burst of antimatter propulsion, its quantum fields shimmering as it phased between dimensions. Pirate vessels, expecting easy prey, moved to intercept, but they weren't prepared for what happened. He firmly grasped the neural interface controls, XE monitor, the quantum matrix, Sarah, and everyone else. His grin was positively impish. "Merry Christmas to all." As the first barrage of gunfire from the pirates was drawing near, Sarah had to trigger her alterations. Then the quantum present synthesizer activated, transforming the unprocessed energy into a stream of presents adorned with festive paper and bows. It was possible to put out the oncoming fire with the help of the stream of presents. Each explosion scattered toys throughout space and time, creating a spectacular light show. Over the command line, Santa's laughter echoed as he guided the sleigh through almost impossible maneuvers. A green and crimson trail was left behind as the newly designed rocket boosters burst. Their Christmas cheer was too much for the shields to handle, as they dove between enemy ships in the heat of combat. In her role as tactical display monitor, Sarah said that the pirates' sensors were overwhelmed by the quantum signatures of millions of presents, each of which generated a distinct interference pattern. As they were taken aback, Exale's crystals throbbed with joy and appreciation. Interestingly, the wrapping paper was really acting as a metamaterial which induced the targeting scanner's electromagnetic waves to be bent. As they faced a target that seemed to be daring them and refused to be hit, the pirates were captivated by the experience. The fact that Sarah's final transformation happened just as children's toys were beginning to deform further added to their growing sense of unease. The kill's quantum field expanded in a short amount of time, enclosing the pirate ships in a dimensional energy sphere. It was as if time had come to a halt. Then, all of a sudden, the pirates saw a kaleidoscope of multicolored light. Their guns were now candy canes, their engines were tinsel, and their hulls were decorated with holiday patterns. As time went on, all of these transformations happened at once. Sarah, who was beaming, and SX, whose senses were struggling to register the change, both wanted to know more. Santa's sleigh was getting ready to continue its delivery route when the pirate fleet, which had become more festive than frightening, hung in space. The communications channel crackled to life, carrying the voice of the leader of the pirates, who seemed confused and somewhat embarrassed. He said, "We surrender, just make it stop singing." He went on to explain that the pirates' ships were singing jingle bells that Sarah said that the emergence of quantum harmonics was an unintended effect of the changeover. Santa Claus was simultaneously directing the sleigh past the eliminated threat. She went on to say, "Don't worry, it will wear off soon. Perhaps you would like to investigate a job change." His somewhat older eyes gleamed with joy. "Sarah, my warmest regards. Through your actions, you have helped ensure the safety of both the presents and the very essence of generosity. You should probably inform me of any modifications you make before the actual problem arises. If you want to prevent repeat crises, please accept my utmost apologies for Sarah's politeness in seeming awkward. Nonetheless, you must admit that she was Thanks to Santa's verification of the quantum navigation technology, 17 star systems of youngsters are now patiently waiting for their arrival. It was really quite effective. Nothing can stop us from delivering them now that you're involved. I appreciate your help. As the sleigh disappeared into quantum space, leaving behind a defeated pirate fleet with a musical bent, Fleet Zix turned its attention to Sarah. You have decided that the Coalition Council will want a detailed report about this event. Thus you are now in the process of writing it. Sarah found a document template, and I'm considering calling it the XX predicted that the Council would create new regulations as a result of this, and Sarah probably agreed. However, they both agreed that sometimes, especially around Christmas, breaking the rules is the best gift that humans can give to the galaxy. This incident would be remembered in Coalition history as the Night of the Christmas Pirates. Despite the new regulations, Sarah was appointed as the first director of the Department of Festive Security, with Six serving as its chief technical advisor. The pirates' ships were decorated for exactly 1 year, but by the time the effects wore off, most of them had joined various legitimate enterprises. Some even claimed to hear faint Christmas carols every time they powered up their engines. Santa, on the other hand, kept the rockets. Perhaps the best traditions are the ones that change with the times, especially when humanity is involved. A number of months had elapsed since the Christmas Pirates event when Sarah Chen was faced with an additional seemingly impossible challenge. Not hostile forces, but the actual cosmos itself threatened the Coalition's gift-giving mission in this specific case. Worries began to spread like wildfire when Zach said that the quantum cookies had solidified just as they were starting to become unstable. They found that the temporal synchronization wasn't operating well after looking at the latest data. At her workstation in the festive security department, Sarah gazed up at the holographic displays showing the present state of events. Of different Christmas systems across Coalition space, those cookies are crucial to the operation. If you're not familiar with modern Christmas logistics, quantum cookies were an ingenious invention that helped Santa overcome a major challenge: how to keep the time on HED while receiving cookies and milk from children across 17 star systems without breaking any laws of physics or suffering from extremely bad gas. XIX explained that by projecting a complex mathematical model into the air between them, we are seeing quantum decoherence on a scale that has never been seen before. If this problem is not resolved before Christmas, every cookie in Coalition space could collapse into a singularity. This is happening simultaneously at every child's house and at the North Pole. Each cookie's quantum-linked counterpart would show the same bite mark, preserving the magic while keeping Santa's actual cookie consumption at reasonable levels. Upon reaching the point of infinite density, Sarah finished running her fingers through her hair. It would certainly dampen the holiday spirit. The Council is especially worried about the public relations fallout from inadvertently creating thousands of cookie-sized black holes in children's homes. But there's no need to worry. All we need to do is stabilize a massive quantum network that spans 17 star systems and involves about 1 billion entangled baked goods before Christmas, which is in 3 weeks. 2 days, 14 hours, and 23 minutes later, XY6 was still not helping Sarah, so she retrieved the original quantum cookie specs. What gave? These cookies have been delicious for years, but now XY6 crystals have turned a slightly guilty hue. Perhaps the Coalition Culinary Committee decided to try experimenting with new ingredients, like dark matter sprinkles. Sarah almost choked on her coffee as she approved of the idea, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Sarah's nose prickled as she said, "Let me get this straight," without consulting the engineering department. They added exotic matter to a quantum-entangled food item that's already pushing the boundaries of physics. In their defense, the sprinkles do taste amazing. She then began to pace, an action she had gotten into during particularly difficult engineering problems. Okay, think, what would MacGyver do besides that? Sarah's eyes lighted up with that distinctive human spark that usually precedes either a brilliant solution or a spectacular disaster. She stopped staring at the holographic model of the quantum cookie network and looked at it for a second. Wait a second. Dark matter isn't causing the decoherence directly. It's creating microfluctuations in local space-time that disrupt the entanglement. Sarah hastened to her desk, her fingers caressing the holographic controls. "Remember those quantum harmonics?" she asked. "The ones that made the pirate ships sing Christmas carols?" "That modification is still getting complaints." "Well, what if we flipped the principle around and used sound to stabilize quantum fields instead of using them to generate sound?" Xylac's crystalline structure vibrated with a sudden realization. "You want to sing to the cookies, not just any singing," Sarah added. And so it began. There are Christmas carols in the music files that have been tuned to resonate with the dark matter quantum signature. By creating a harmonic field, we can stabilize the entire network. Zix has done some quick calculations, and their crystals are pulsing with increasing brightness. It's insane, but brilliant. The math checks out, and of course they do. Zach, what could go wrong with your rhetorical questions? Sarah and her team transformed the North Pole's quantum transmission network into a massive Christmas choir that broadcasted precisely calibrated carols across 17 star systems. Over the next 2 days, they worked feverishly to implement the solution, which involved preparing emergency protocols to contain the cookies in case anything went wrong. They also considered alerting the dimensional cleanup crew in case the cookies inadvertently turned into portals to the gingerbread dimension. Interesting results emerged from the experiment. On Earth, dogs started howling in perfect harmony to Silent Night. On Proxima Centauri 3, life forms based on silicon reported crystalline structures growing in fractal patterns that resembled Christmas trees. In the Teddy system, multiple Phil operas claim to have finally heard the music of the spheres, which sounded eerily like jingle bells. The quantum cookies stabilized their entanglement, which was reinforced by the cosmic Christmas chorus and the dark night. Subtle and endearing harmonic undertones were introduced to the songs as matter sprinkling fell into the sink. Only non-ionic beings could appreciate this. While Santa Claus's jolly old sleigh ride that year went off without a hitch, some reported hearing faint Christmas music as he nibbled on a cookie. The coalition's culinary committee was both pleased and a little scared by the response. As a consequence, they resolved unanimously to get in touch with the engineering department before making any further changes to the recipe. Sarah and Zykes, in contrast, spent a considerable amount of time, while they were in their office on Christmas Eve, enjoying some non-entangled cookies and monitoring the quantum harmonics. Exix made the comment that, "I never thought I would be using music theory to stop cookies from exploding into singularities when I joined the coalition." While Exix was snacking on their own cookies, they made an observation. As a countermeasure, Sarah mixed her coffee with a chocolate chip cookie instead of drinking it. "At times, we have ideas that no one else could have thought of. Occasionally, these ideas are really brilliant. Other times, they are completely ridiculous, and occasionally, they are a combination of the two." Sarah raised her coffee mug in a toast to human ingenuity and alien patience, wishing that quantum cookies would never achieve gravitational singularity. Zai's colors shifted to a worried purple, and Sarah laughed. "As for Santa's sleigh, I've been thinking of some upgrades for next year." The spirit of human innovation continued to push the boundaries of what was possible, one crazy solution at a time, as another Christmas night fell across coalition space. Sometimes the best way to preserve tradition is to reinvent it entirely, preferably with rockets, quantum physics, and a reality-bending modification. Sarah was already pulling up the sleigh's schematics, so why not finish with that one? "I have a great idea involving hyperspace tinsel." The crystal structure of XY throbbed with frustration as they examined the most recent proposal from Sarah Chen, the most innovative and troublesome director of the Department of Festive Security. Leaning back in her chair, the holographic displays surrounding her workstation displayed various temporal models and metrics related to Christmas. "Sarah, please, don't make this about your projects. Instead, consider the possibility that we could grant Santa could have more time to deliver gifts, or, even better, we could optimize the entire gift-giving operation. by potentially disrupting the fabric of space-time. Meanwhile, the Council is still working on the paperwork related to the quantum cookie incident, which turned out to be perfectly fine. Sarah pointed out that nobody got sucked into a cookie-based black hole, and the interdimensional Carillon actually improved diplomatic relations with the non-ionic species. Sarah mentioned that something strange happened when the usual warning klaxons weren't playing. Instead, a distorted version of Deck the Halls and a minor key was played. It was very unsettling. The main display lit up with a cascade of anomalous readings across Coalition space-temporal sensors, which were picking up on unusual fluctuations centered around Christmas decorations, particularly anything involving tinsel. Oh no, the colors shifted rapidly through various shades of alarming, as if the experimental hyperspace tinsel you had installed on the HFY displayed a three-dimensional map illustrating the propagation of time distortions. The resonance was causing tiny holes in local space-time, and every single piece of ordinary tinsel was turning into a possible conduit for the passage of time. Sarah's pupils widened as she processed the data, but it was obviously impossible, since the hyperspace modifications had been contained in a quantum-shielded field, which was obviously not sufficiently isolated, Sarah observed, as the tinsel started to resonate with the regular tinsel in 17 star systems. This map is being updated in real time to show an increasing number of anomalies appearing wherever Christmas decorations were. Some people are reporting temporal loops around their Christmas trees. A family on Proxima Centaur 3 has been decorating the same tree for 3 weeks straight, and they just won't stop until it's perfect. Sarah mused about how normal that sounds, but we need to contain this before she gets out of hand. Because the tinsel is producing temporal echoes, it's as if folks are having several Christmases at once. Sarah's thoughts were racing with all the possible consequences of the idea that youngsters are really experiencing more than one Christmas at the same time. Around large population hubs, we are seeing the beginnings of chronological cracks. A quantum broadcast came from one of the Coalition's time monitoring sites and was accompanied by further alerts. Someone else's alert cut this one off. Director Chen, a Tatian scientist, appeared on the big screen, and he seemed to be rather agitated. Their bioluminescent tentacles, adults are experiencing the same presence multiple times, reliving office Christmas parties in endless loops. Several shopping malls exist in a quantum superposition of every Christmas sale they've ever had. If these temporal fractures continue to expand, we could end up with a cascading holiday loop that traps the entire Coalition in an endless Christmas. Sarah muttered, earning a crystalline glare from Zix's focus. Sarah stood up and was already making her way toward the facilities. Experimental facility. Sarah hurriedly retrieved the original hyperspace tinsel specifications from the lab. No pressure, but we need to find a way to stop every piece of tinsel in 17 star systems from ripping holes in space-time. Otherwise, we might all end up in a perpetual December 25th, which would be a major problem for Administrator Naus X. The stress of delivering presents infinitely might even make him live longer than he already is, interacting as a network of temporal conductors, each strand connecting to every other piece through quantum entanglement. Zyx added their crystalline structure and hummed as they performed complex calculations. But why didn't this happen immediately after the modification? Sarah's fingers flew over the holographic controls, running simulation after simulation. It's interacting with something else that's amplifying the effect. She came to a sudden halt, her gaze widening as she thought about the quantum cookie network. The network, which we stabilized with Christmas carols, is still active and maintains a harmonic field across Coalition space. The hyperspace tinsel is resonating with this field, and Psy's colors shifted to a thoughtful blue. If we can disrupt this resonance, we can stop the temporal cascade. Sarah was already making changes to the quantum transmission network, but we still need... She paused, a gentle smile spreading across her face. Hey Zeeks, remember how you said it was a bad idea to create a time loop just to finish projects? Sarah corrected. That's right, Sarah, but not for projects. Instead, we'll use the network that's causing the problem to fix it. We'll create a controlled temporal pocket just long enough to broadcast a counter-resonance that will nullify the tinsel effect. Sarah pointed out that the council is currently experiencing their third consecutive annual budget meeting. She and her team worked on an operation she called Operation Tinsel Timeout, where they converted the North Pole facility's main quantum array into a temporal transmitter. They carefully calibrated it to generate a precise counterfrequency to the tinsel. Over the next few hours, or maybe even days, given the temporal distortions, the council will never approve. The activation control Zwix was hovered over by Sarah as she stated how the temporal shields were holding up, which was anticipated given that we were going to modify time on purpose across 17 star systems. Zwix said that they were prepared for transmission, which meant that their crystalline form had stabilized. The most challenging aspect was precisely timing the transmission. In every location and at every instant, they had to strike the tinsel at the exact same time. As a result of space-time's present complexity, the broadcasting procedure was more involved than normal. And must say, this is precisely the kind of thing that proper regulation is supposed to prevent. With that out of the way, let's get back to saving Christmas. Sarah turned on the transmitter, and the effect was breathtaking. The quantum array pulsed with energy, sending out a wave of carefully modulated temporal energy that rippled across coalition space. As it hit each piece of tinsel, the distortions in time started to collapse, and reality snapped back into its proper configuration. Just as the dust settled and the temporal sensors showed normal readings across all systems, Sarah and Zwix were back in their office, reviewing the aftermath. Some shoppers were disappointed that they couldn't access every Christmas sale, but the family on Proxima Center 3 finally finished decorating their tree. It turned out to be the most perfectly decorated tree in recorded history, thanks to the several weeks of temporal loop refinements. Looking over the incident reports, Sarah made a comment on how exciting it was, and how they fixed it without creating any permanent time paradoxes. We may have violated 73 coalition rules in theory, but Zynex pointed out that we omitted physics altogether. Sarah made her remark while perusing the incident records. No matter what, the laws of physics are more like suggestions than principles. Sarah waved her hand dismissively and said, "Besides, everything went out okay, and I feel we learned some excellent lessons here, such as, don't experiment with hyperspace alterations on Christmas decorations." I was thinking more along the lines of, always have a backup plan, but Sarah was having none of it. Sarah grinned and pulled up a document template. "I'm considering calling it the Temporal Decoration Safety Guidelines, a comprehensive guide to preventing holiday-induced space-time anomalies." "And what about the hyperspace tinsel? Definitely another backup plan in case your quantum-enhanced Christmas decorations start breaking space-time." Sarah's expression shifted to one of thoughtful contemplation. Now that we understand how it interacts with the quantum cookie network, we could actually use it to our advantage. With some modifications, we could create a controlled temporal field that gives Santa even more time to deliver presents. Sarah was mostly joking, but she did raise her hands in surrender. They continued their friendly debate about the proper balance between other technologies, and little did they know that Sarah's desk contained a stray tinsel ball that had slipped under her workstation. It appeared to sometimes wiggle slightly out of sync with reality, and the lights in the office gave it a shiny, innocent look. While that may have been a temporary setback, it was probably only a trick of the light.